Here we are, on to the next project. I started working on this thing and I forgot to show you guys what we got going on. So we have the camper on the truck and it still sways pretty bad, you know, to be expected in a way. The modifications that have been done to help with this situation of sway so far are, we have removed the body lift, so we got a 3-inch body lift down. There's no body lift on the truck. We have roughly a 6-inch suspension lift throughout that has been on the truck only right now, with 37s that only measure to 35 right now, but there's still a lot of sidewall. The other thing that has happened so far is I have the felling wedges have been wedged in as far as I can get them in there to tighten up those springs a little bit on the lower portion of the overloads, and it made a difference, but definitely not safe to drive a long distance or fast. So right now I am mocking up a rear sway bar. So we have a front sway bar that I had from a different truck. It's actually the original frame that this 78 was on. So I got that front sway bar and I have it mocked up in here right now as to make it work as a rear sway bar. I just have rods sticking out of the U-bolt plates there just to hold it in place. And you see I had to kick it towards the driver's side to clear that shock. Then on the passenger side I have it just pretty much right up against the U-bolt top pads there. That's where I'm thinking about having this mocked up, and then obviously clearing the drive shaft so when the suspension compresses, the drive shaft won't hit the sway bar, but it has to stay below the exhaust, and there's all sorts of stuff. So I'm just mocking this up right now. My plan is to make a cross member. I'll make brackets that come off the face of the frame rail down here, go down, and then have a cross member that goes across and then bolts to the front of the sway bar there. Where it bolts to the actual U-bolt top plates, I ordered weld nuts, but it's just tubing that's threaded for the 3/4 inch bolts that normally go through those through the sway bars. So that's what I'm going to use there. And then on this side where I have to extend it, that I'm going to have to use bar or something, I don't know yet. But this is what we got. We're going to try and get this thing mocked up and do this on the cheap, because a rear sway bar kit for these trucks are not cheap. I mean, you're not going to really find them much cheaper than $400, we'll put it that way. And this sway bar here I had, so as of now we're at free. We have the cross member here. We just got the square tubing and we're going to cut that to length. It's 34 1/8, and let's get to it there. Now I'm going to try and do this as straight as possible. It'd be nice to have a chop saw for steel for this, but I don't. So this is what I got. This is what I'm going to use. Let's see if we can do it and how straight I can cut this with a grinder. So I got this clamped and I have this marked exactly at 34 1/8. That side is already cut square, so it was a good measurement. Let's do it. Not my normal way of cutting tubing, but we're gonna see if that does any better. It looks pretty straight to me. Alright, I'm normally not filming because I'm just trying to get stuff done, but this will show you how tight these U-bolts are. And if you watch an old video, it's only like 4 years ago that I put these on. These things are so corroded already. Check this out. I heated it with, I don't have acetylene, but I already broke it free. PB Blaster. Heated it with a MAP gas, which does something, but not everything. And finally got all of the U-bolts off, and I wire brushed it, threw some satin Rust-Oleum on there. Just while I have the U-bolts off, might as well at least spray it with something. And cleaned it with alcohol a little bit before. So got it painted. Now for the U-bolts, here's the story of why it was giving me such trouble. There was most likely corrosion on that U-bolt there, which caused, you know, it messed up the threads. It also stripped the nut as well. So I was gonna try and use a die, and I know it's a risk, but those threads are pretty bad. But then I was like, you know what? Let me go see what I have in the back for U-bolts left over. I found these U-bolts, which are a little bit shorter, but they will work. It's the same thread. It actually came off of the truck originally before I had the springs redone 4 years ago. So I replaced them because these are kind of rusted, but you know what? I can clean them up and paint them. The threads are still good. The threads are not good on this. So we're gonna ditch these. Anyway, I'm gonna clean these up on the wire brush, on the wire wheel here, and get these ready and paint them. So I got the U-bolts all wire wheeled off, and now I'm gonna take a die and run that down the threads. This is the old U-bolts, but the threads look good. And you just run the die down the threads, and all you're doing here is making sure there's no little burrs or anything, because if there's any burrs, it'll lock up the die, and then you got to use a wrench, get through it. This side wasn't too bad. So this is a perfect example. That nut won't thread. Here's a die. The die just rolls through it. Here's a brand new nut. Let's see. Butter. We just got a shipment of parts, and we're gonna see what we got here. This isn't gonna do much for stability, for sway I mean, but that's what I got. Them shocks are in there from who knows when. So I got new shocks. This is what I'm waiting for right here. This is literally what I can't keep moving forward without. These are considered weld nuts, but what it is, it's tubing that's tapped or bar or whatever. So we got these here, which are tapped for the sway bar. So here you go. We got a new front sway bar. Get rid of those things. There you go. We got a new front sway bar, and she's pretty stout. Looks good. We'll see how this does. This sway bar is designed to work around the crossover steering that's on this truck. And this all came from Offroad Design. Let's get to it, mocking it up. Here's some of the parts I got. Here's the front sway bar that I have existing. So I got new bushings for the, all new bushings, but these are for this section of it. So these I guess pop in here. Let's see how well it looks. And then here's a sleeve. It goes in between them. Alright, we also got the front. They came in the same kit, but we got the front style mounts. These ones are rough. Look at these bad boys. Original. So these got splits in them. Open them up. Hopefully they don't break. Alright. Snaps into place. Put this in. Good morning. Next day here. We got the 78. It is getting closer. Didn't do too much, but I wanted to show you before I open the door because you're backlit when I open the door. Totally backlit. So we got the sway bar mocked up. Okay, I got a 2x4 just laying in between the drive shaft to space it up. It's gonna go a little higher than that, but I just have it mocked up for the time being, and that is that front sway bar. That's an original front sway bar off of a Squarebody Chevy, and it came off a 1978 K30. Right now I have it mocked up where I have this bolt going through this threaded boss or cylindrical weld nut, if you will, or it's kind of like a bung in a way, and I have it just tacked up there, which is on the bottom side, the spring top pad. I'll show you that when I get it out of the truck, but I just wanted to show you what I have going because I really didn't film much of this, and because honestly it's kind of hard to film. I just have a rod C-clamped underneath that U-bolt top pad just to represent where a bar would be, and so I can get my distance that I need to stick out to make where the bolt surface would be. So that was the measurement I needed. I got it. Now the next step is to cut the bar extension for the hole to be mounted over there. So I'll show you what we got to do there. Here's what I have so far for the bar, or my plan. Here's the cylindrical weld nut, or it's like a bung. It's a threaded boss that I can weld to. It's 1 3/8 diameter, so I went to the industrial salvage yard, got 1 3/8 solid bar, and I have it marked here how long I have to cut it. But before that, I'm gonna weld this together. I'm gonna see how this works, and then after I weld that together, I'm gonna sleeve it with this heavier pipe right over this area, so it'll be a little bit more strength. and then weld on each side of that. But before that, I want to chamfer both of these edges pretty heavy so that I can get a good weld in there and the sleeve will still fit over it. So I'm going to use a grinder to chamfer it right here, but I'm not going to cut this. I'm going to use it as a handle first to grind right there, and then for the chamfer, and then I'm also going to make this chamfer bigger. Why are you so needy, huh? Why are you so needy? There you go. Here's what I got so far. There's that chamfer, both of them, and I'm going to clean the edges up there, and I'm going to get this welded together. Got the bar welded to that threaded piece, and then I got the sleeve here that I plan to put over it, and then weld around each side there, and then I'll support that hopefully better. The bars are welded together, sleeved it, and this is the mark that I have to cut it. That thing is still hot. So, welded it with 7018 rod. Right, Tank? Gonna cut it right here. Got all of the mounting brackets welded up. This is the passenger side, this is the driver's side, and I have them set up like if they were bolted into the on top of the springs. And you can see I put a gusset on top here, and then that one is pretty much welded flush. You'll see why I had to extend this one and not that one. It'll make sense once it's installed. So this one's pretty simple. It's just welded all the way around. Don't judge the welds. That's not my profession. And then this one I threw a gusset underneath like that. And then obviously there's the sleeve and all that you saw before. All I care about is if it breaks. We'll find out. But I'm going to throw paint on this now. Throw some alcohol, prime them and paint them. And we have the sway bar in against the U-bolts. As you can see, there's that mount. There's the driver's side. And I got the U-bolts snug. Everything's just snug, and then you can see the action here. So this will go up and down. Well, actually that'll stay put, but the axle will go up and down. But it clears everything, and it pivots right. Everything's good. All right, I got everything tightened up. The sway bar moves freely with all the U-bolts tight and everything. So now I'm mocking up this cross member. Here I just have channel C-clamped into the frame. Comes down, and then there's a cross member that goes across the whole thing, and then I'm gonna have it where the sway bar lifts up and meets that cross member right there on these little brackets that I just made that you see here, which is what the sway bar mounts to. I'm gonna lift it up to this cross member and then weld these little tabs onto the cross member, and then weld onto the cross member and fit it up. This is one of the hardest things to film, is underneath a truck while you're working. You need a camera crew. So here is those little plates, those brackets to 5 inches, and then there's 3.5 inch hole spacing for a 3/8 bolt. So that's what I'm about to drill right now. Hopefully this is more clear. Now that the cross member is out of the truck, I tacked it in place so I know exactly where everything needs to be. So now I'm going to weld it all around and drill the hole, one hole. I center punched one hole because there's an existing hole in the frame rail I'm going to use. And that's going to be my pilot to get it back in the same spot again. And then I can mark and drill another hole after that. So it's going to be a lot of in and out, in and out. Got the cross member bolted up with one bolt. Got the sway bar bolted up. It fits. Everything's good. Now that cross member is bolted up, you can see the sway bar back there. There you go. So now that this is bolted up and tightened with one bolt on each side, I'm going to mark it now, center punch it, and just drill through the frame with one more 1/2 inch bolt both sides. Next day, got the cross member here all painted up, ready to be installed. cross member goes right there where that ghost line is. I'm just gonna scuff it up, throw a little paint on there because it's gonna be, might get corrosion in there. So throw a little paint on both sides. Here is the completed product. We have the cross member here in front of the passenger side axle. So there's the cross member. It goes all the way to the driver's side rail. And then here's the sway bar bolted to it. And then it goes down to the U-bolt top pad custom deal there, and then it bolts in over there with that other one right there. So now we just got to test it and see if the welds hold. Here we go. Got the camper on the truck, ready for the test drive before it gets dark tonight. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous. Here's the status of the apparatus. We inserted the spring wedges, felling wedges into the springs to increase the rigidity of the rear springs onto the lower portion there. You saw that already. So there they are. Okay, that was the first thing we did. It made a slight difference. I'm talking slight, barely noticeable, but improvement. Then removed the body lift, okay, 3 inches lower. That made about the same amount of improvement, not much. Kind of surprising, I thought it would be better. Now, for what we got going on now is, then I said, you know what, I gotta do a rear sway bar. And I knew that, but it's a lot of work. So now we have the rear sway bar, and that's the next thing that I did. And it should make the biggest improvement. So the reason why I'm nervous is because if it does not make a big improvement on this test drive, it's not gonna be looking good for the 78 haul on this camper. It's what it comes down to. I mean, because after this, all I have is a front sway bar to put on, new shocks, and then swapping smaller tires. So yeah, hopefully this makes a big difference. We will find out, so let's get her started up and make sure she's ready to go. I haven't even driven this truck on the road with the sway bar on, so this is a true test. Going all the way here. Let's see. So this road was pretty bad before. It really rocked really bad because it's an uneven road. So seeing how bad it is right now, and right here it was bad. Let's see. Oh wow, it definitely made an improvement, I'm pretty sure here. Got done the test drive yesterday. Went quite well. Here's the deal, it was last night, it got dark. You guys saw a little bit of it, but I actually brought it on the highway, believe it or not. We hit 60 miles an hour yesterday, which I would have never done before with the other modifications not on it. So it seems like every modification that I do, I can go like 5 miles an hour faster comfortably. We have the rear sway bar on, it made a big difference, definitely made a big difference. It's still not great. It's still not like I want to take it on a trip comfortable. I can go 50 miles an hour on a decent road comfortably, but you know, like 40 to 50 is where it's comfortable. That's not really good enough. So what we're gonna do now is add a front sway bar. The reason why there isn't a front sway bar, someone who is new to the channel might be wondering, is because I have added crossover steering onto this square body, which originally did not have it. and that interferes with the stock sway bar. So Offroad Design now makes a sway bar kit that works with their crossover steering kit. The first thing I got to do for this front sway bar to work is flip that top U-bolt pad. So I got to loosen those U-bolts, get them all the way off the nuts, and then flip it 180 and then put it back tightened so that it's over on this side. So I had to rotate it 180 degrees so that your female portion is sticking out towards the this side of the truck. That's how it works, and let's see if we can get this thing mocked up. And I'm gonna try and do this without, I might move the truck in front of the garage there and just do this with the camper on it, because honestly it's kind of a pain in the butt to take the camper off and on, and see if we can do this in the driveway. It's supposedly not a crazy job, but you know how that goes. What are you doing? Here is the sway bar kit. You're looking at it from like the top pretty much. Obviously you have the bar. These are some locking rings. I did order new mounting brackets with bushings. And then you have your little end links that they sell you different lengths depending on how big your lift is. And then there's the bolt slash stud area that will allow the end link to slip onto and get fastened. So that's cool. So that's it. That's everything. Let's see if it'll fit and how. I have a feeling if everything bolts up correctly, the hardest part is going to be jacking up the truck and doing all the articulation, but I say that now. Let's see how bad it is. So I didn't film it, but here's the final product of the front sway bar installed. It went well. It actually went pretty fast. And then I also put new Bilstein shocks on it. Really I didn't see any difference in that. The shocks were old. They needed to be replaced. They saw better days. They're original when I first lifted this truck in, I don't know, 2008. Anyway, front sway bar's on, and it made a difference. Let's take it for a drive and show you the sway. Okay, here's the verdict. After installing the rear sway bar and front sway bar, it made enough of a difference with both of the sway bars combined that I was going about 60 miles an hour. I hit 70 miles an hour just on my test drives, but I was definitely comfortable on the highway at 60 miles an hour, as long as there wasn't some crazy dips in the road. But most major highways where your speed limits are 55 to 70 miles an hour, they're pretty smooth sailing as far as the road's concerned. And on any of those roads, I was comfortable at 60 miles an hour for sure. So I consider that good. 60 miles an hour is fast enough. I don't need, 55 miles an hour is fast enough to get where we're going. So I consider it a success, and we're gonna go. It doesn't matter, we're going. Adding the front sway bar after the rear sway bar made a very big difference compared to all of the other modifications. The sway bars together were by far the biggest difference for, guess what, the sway problems, right? Makes sense. Put the new shocks on, notice zero difference for the new shocks. It's just peace of mind at this point. It's camping worthy now. Before we go on a big trip though, I do want to take a nice big test run, good 40 miles, big round trip on some interstate, and get it at sustained heat, warm it up, get it rolling at that temperature and speeds for a while, just to, you want to have problems on a test drive, not when you're trying to go camping. And if we pass the test drive, we're going camping, so stay tuned.